This is Mr. Tickle with our friends Cody and Bruno. No. Alright. It was a warm, sunny morning. In his small house at the end of the woods, Mr. Tickle was asleep. You didn't know that there was such a thing as a tickle, did you? Well, there is. Tickles are small and round, and they have arms that stretch and stretch and stretch. Extraordinarily long arms. Mr. Tickle was fast asleep. He was having a dream. It must have been a really funny dream, because it made him laugh out loud, and that woke him up. He sat in bed and stretched his extraordinarily long arms and yawned an enormous yawn. Mr. Tickle felt hungry, so do you know what he did? I bet you don't. Cody wants tickles. He reached out one of those extraordinary long arms, opened the bedroom door, reached down the stairs, opened the kitchen cabinet, opened the canister where he kept his crackers, and took out a cracker. Then he brought it back upstairs. As you can see, it's very useful having arms as long as Mr. Tickle's. As Mr. Tickle ate his crackers, he looked out the window. Today looks like a tickling day, he thought to himself. Or a chewing day. Look at that. Look at what Cody's doing to my finger. So I'm trying to make sure he doesn't eat my book. So later that morning, after Mr. Tickle had made his bed and eaten his breakfast, he set out through the woods. As he walked along, he kept his eyes wide open, looking for somebody to tickle, looking for anybody to tickle. Look how cute Cody's being. Look at that. I'm so cute. All right. So eventually Mr. Tickle came to a school. There was nobody around, so he reached up one of his extraordinary long arms to a high window ledge. Mr. Tickle pulled himself up and peeped through the open window. What do you think he saw through the open window? Inside, he could see a classroom. There was children sitting at their desks and a teacher writing on the blackboard. Mr. Tickle waited a minute and then he reached through the window. Mr. Tickle's extraordinary long arm went right up to the teacher and paused, and then tickled him. The teacher jumped in the air and turned around very quickly to see who was there. But nobody was there, was it, Bruno? Nobody there, Bruno. Oh, they're being so cute. Look at this. He's very distracting, these puppies. Mr. Tickle was enjoying himself so much that he tickled the teacher again. The children in the classroom laughed and laughed and laughed. And finally, when Mr. Tickle thought he had enough fun, he quietly brought his arm back through the window. He knew the teacher wouldn't be able to explain himself. Then Mr. Tickle went home. What a day Mr. Tickle had. He tickled the policeman on traffic duty at the crossing in the middle of town, and it caused an enormous traffic jam. He tickled the grocer just as he was piling apples neatly at his store window. The grocer fell over backwards, and the apples rolled all over the store. At the railway station, the guard was about to wave his flag for the train to leave. As he lifted his arm in the air, Mr. Tickle tickled him. Every time he tried to wave his flag, Mr. Tickle tickled him until the train was 10 minutes late, leaving the station, and all the passengers were furious. That day, Mr. Tickle tickled everyone. He tickled the doctor. He tickled the butcher. He even tickled old Mr. Stamp, the mailman, who dropped all his letters into a puddle. Then Mr. Tickle went home, sitting in his armchair in his small house, the other side of the woods. He laughed and laughed every time he thought about all the people he tickled. So, if you are in any way ticklish, be aware of Mr. Tickle And those extraordinary long arms of his. Just think, maybe he's round the corner at this very moment while you're reading this book. Maybe that extraordinary long arm of his is already creeping up to the door of this room. Maybe it's opening the door now and coming in the room. And maybe, before you really know what's happening, you will be tickled. Look at that. Look at that. This little dog has been annoying this whole time reading the story. He's been wanting tickles and chewing on my fingers, haven't you? Yes, you have. Yes, you have.